The real story behind Rome's empire, it was always about the money. Look, here's what they don't tell you in school: Rome didn't conquer the world because they had the best soldiers. They conquered it because they figured out how to pay for endless war. And once they started, they couldn't stop. How it started: farmers with spears. In the beginning, Rome's army was just regular guys. If you owned land, you got drafted. You brought your own weapons, fought for a season, then went back to your farm. Simple. But then Rome started winning. And winning meant going further from home. Campaigns got longer. You couldn't just grab a spear and disappear for a year anymore, someone had to tend the crops. The old system was breaking. So Rome did something radical: they started paying soldiers. Not much, but enough to keep them around. And that's when everything changed. The business model: war pays for war. Here's the trick Rome discovered: every conquest brought in more than it cost. New province. New taxes. New slaves. New gold mines. New tribute flowing back to Rome. It was a beautiful loop. War funded more war. Victory paid for the next campaign. And everyone at the top got rich. But, and this is the key part, Rome didn't do this with tax money alone. They borrowed. Massively. During the Punic Wars against Carthage, Rome took out enormous loans from wealthy citizens, especially a rising financial class called the equites. These weren't charitable donations. They were investments. And investors expected returns, interest payments, exclusive rights to collect taxes in conquered territories, business monopolies. War became a business. And like any business, the more profitable it was, the more they wanted to expand. The system takes over. Over time, this warped everything. Generals became powerful because they controlled the loot. Senators became investors in violence. Private contractors, the publicani, ran logistics, tax collection, supply chains, skimming fortunes along the way. It was basically the military-industrial complex, but in togas. And the costs? They kept piling up. Rome had to constantly find new revenue to pay soldiers, pay creditors, keep the machine running. When conquests slowed down or rebellions drained the treasury, Rome pulled out the oldest trick in the book: debase the currency. When the money breaks. It started with Emperor Nero. He quietly reduced the silver content in the denarius, Rome's standard coin. Not by much. Just a little. But then the next emperor did it. And the next. Over 2 centuries, they kept diluting it until the silver coin was basically worthless metal with a government stamp. Inflation hit hard. People lost faith in the currency. By the 3rd century, Rome's monetary system was in free fall. Meanwhile, the wealthy protected themselves. Senators and equites moved their wealth into land, slaves, foreign accounts. They secured tax exemptions and inside deals. The poor. They paid taxes in worthless coins while prices skyrocketed. The financial burden of endless wars landed squarely on them, through inflation, forced labor, and conscription. This wasn't just a military collapse. It was a monetary collapse. Now look around. Governments running massive deficits. Wars funded by borrowing. Central banks quietly printing money to cover the gap. A financial class getting rich off defense contracts and crisis profiteering. We don't call it tribute anymore. We call it taxation, quantitative easing, monetary policy. But the mechanics? Eerily similar. Central banks print. Governments spend beyond their means. The rich buy assets. The poor watch their paychecks shrink. The U.S. spent over $2 trillion on Afghanistan, mostly funded by debt. Who got those contracts? Who earned the interest? Who's paying for it now through inflation and reduced services? You already know. The system has no off switch. What Rome shows us is this: an economy built on expansion, especially violent expansion, eventually hits a wall. You run out of places to conquer, resources to extract, enemies to fight. And when that happens, the system turns inward. The debt doesn't go away. The obligations don't vanish. But the revenue dries up. That's when the state squeezes its own people. Rome increased taxes, debased currency more, added more control, gave the masses bread and circuses to keep them distracted while the elite fortified their estates. Sound familiar? What this means for you? Here's the thing: you can't opt out of the system entirely. But you can understand it. You can stop playing blindly. Most people think inflation is random. That taxes are just necessary. That debt is freedom. That growth can go on forever. The Stoics had a word for that: delusion. Start by seeing the pattern. Because most people don't. Study financial history, not just personal finance. Watch for systemic stress, not just market hype. Ask yourself, who profits when I stay confused? Because you weren't supposed to know this. You weren't supposed to ask how Rome paid for its wars. Or how modern states do it now. You were supposed to focus on the theater, the headlines, the GDP numbers, the distractions. Not the mechanisms. Not the incentives. Not who actually benefits. But now you know. Financial education isn't just about budgets and investing. It's about understanding power. Understanding systems. Seeing through the illusion of stability. Next time you hear about a new conflict, a new stimulus package, a new crisis, don't just watch. Follow the money. Ask who lends, who earns, and who pays in the end. Because here's what history teaches us: empires don't fall when the enemy breaks through the gates. They fall when the math stops working, and no one has the courage to fix it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And maybe that's exactly what we need right now: more people who actually understand how the game is played, instead of just playing along. The system depends on most people not asking questions. So ask them. Follow the money. Build your resilience, not just financially, but mentally. Because the next time someone tells you, this time is different, you'll know better. The patterns repeat. The mechanics are the same. Only the costumes change. Rome fell. Will we learn from it? That's up to us.